Welcome to a brand new episode from the Guru MFIS Vlog. We are here today. I hope you had a great weekend. Over the weekend, me and the fam had a fantastic weekend. We played cash flow, learned a lot, lost, and if you know, I'm a big time competitor. Saturday, went to the beach up in past Sacramento, got on the boat, jet skis, fabulous time, came back and relaxed. Also today had celebrated a birthday with my boy Parent. Parent, shout out. I want to say happy birthday once again to you, even though your birthday was last Friday. And then yesterday, just relaxed, watched my favorite show, Ballers. It seemed like it's one of my top shows. Caught up on Power because when I got home from Sac, I was just too beat. And so now we're here today. And today we have a lot of news. There's been a lot of things that have been happening in the world today. The first thing I want to talk about, and this then going to have a ripple effect on everything else, is that the stock market had its worst day of 2015. I believe the Dow Jones average lost about, let's get the exact numbers for you. It lost about, no, it's the worst day, let's see. It lost 350 points, almost 2% of its value. The NASDAQ lost 2.4% of its value. Right? The S&P lost 2%. So it was a bad day. And the bad day was kicked off over the weekend when we've been hearing a lot about with these Greece deals. And with the Greece deals, what is pretty much is saying is Greece been kicking the can, borrow money for the last 5 years. And it seems like, mom and dad are trying to give us some strict limits, which is the mom and dad is the European Union. The European Union, and more important I should say, is the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, is saying, hey, we're putting you on strict limits. And Greeks like, hold on, those things are way too strict. We don't like the strictness of the terms you're giving us to allow us to borrow money. And with that, we've been seeing in Greece, there's been a little bit of a bank run. They might even default with little as in a couple of days. And it seems like Europe is saying if you don't go with these terms, you're going to default. With that, it made the stock market kind of nervous because of the false and the D that what happened if Greece do fall. How many hedge funds, derivatives, and everything else actually is connected to it. And the interesting thing I want to see is how much of Goldman Sachs funds and investments has been inside Greece. Because if you remember back in 09, 010, one reason they did default was bad deals that was given by Goldman Sachs. Now another place that's having issues, and not a country, but a commonwealth, which is Puerto Rico, home of Bacardi rum, great drinks, and a good time on the beach, white sands. Fantastic. But they also say, the government today said that they look like they might not be able to pay the bill. And with them not paying their bill, it seems like it could be a scary situation. And if you look over it, they never got out of the Great Recession. They've been having issues. Matter of fact, they say that about 48,000 people have been leaving the country every year, going to the United States. At the same time, the debt levels, even though it's the size of Connecticut, is big as the state of New York, the debt levels, based off of their economy, problem with power forests, not just power forests, power like my favorite show, the power, but real power like lights and everything on power. And so they're having issues. And we're seeing these issues happen with these monetary systems. And I want to play this back, and we've seen a big drop in the marketplace today, as far as the stock market and equities market. Do I think this is going to be a long-term thing? I think Greece eventually will probably get bailed out, and which is going to probably with worse terms than they would like, just because of the greatness of the people needs it. And I think Puerto Rico eventually will get bailed out, because I don't think countries really fail that often. It's more that they just eventually get bailed out some bad terms that kills them kills growth 30, 50, 80 years terms. Which these IMF and everything just put these bad terms, and they're pretty much a slave to debt, which we don't want to do personally. But how does it affect me and you in our wallets, in our pockets? The biggest way I see that affecting us is one, all these issues happening worldwide, especially we don't know how much of Puerto Rico borrowed money is coming from the United States, especially because it is our territory, not a state, but they are a territory, a commonwealth. And we haven't said we're going to bail them out, but I want to know what we're going to do with our interest rates. I think we're going to freeze interest rates. They've been talking about they was going to raise them in September. But now, based off of all this, I think they actually change things. Let me scoot this a little bit closer to you. I think they're actually going to change things and how things are happening. I think interest rates now, after Greece and Puerto Rico, has confirmed that we're going to have our interest rates frozen and not grow until maybe next year. Because every single little small thing that's in the economy tells us that the Federal Reserve don't want to raise it. And these two things was going to give us another reason why the Fed is not going to raise it. At the same time, because there's so much money out there, because there's so much cheap money, I think if it's going to eventually cause more inflation than we're having now. And I don't give a shit or bullshit that the federal government said, or the Federal Reserve, I should say, because they're not the government, the Federal Reserve, two separate entities. I think we are in a place of inflation. Right now, we're seeing house prices and rent prices has drastically went up in the United States, especially in the Bay Area, where now you're going from 24 to 30. You're going places 3,600, 3,000. Home prices are through the roof because of cheap financing, and even those are pure inflation. We have increases in food already, in energy prices, and I think we're going to still see that, especially in California with the drought and other conditions, and with the lack of increasing of interest rates. It's going to make money so cheap. There's so much money out there. It's going to cause inflation. At the same time, I can see all this cheap money is increasing the limits that we have right now on the increase on the limits that we're going to see as far as these companies. Airbnb were $25 billion today. They found out, even though the loss is over $200 million this year, expecting next year over $150 million. So we're going to see more and more of a bubble happening with our investments also. So that's what we're seeing. So here's my question of the day. And also, by the way, the book is coming out soon. When the music stops, how to prepare for the financial crisis. And so that I'm really excited. I'm pumped up. We was working on that a little bit while driving. My girlfriend was driving, so we're just texting it. So that's my question is, how does you feel that Greece affects us? But more importantly, what do you have as an idea of a chapter that we should write about in our next book? Once again, this is the Guru, Jason Matthews. See you tomorrow. We'll be gone working out in the field. We might be able to, but for sure we'll be back Wednesday, Thursday. Then we're taking a week off to write the book when the music stops, how to prepare for the next financial crisis. Deuces. By the way, subscribe.